On there at YouTube. This is Daywalker225XXXX, and this is my response to Kryptonite on her video in defense of Montana De Leon. Alright, let's get started and get into the meat of this, because I don't believe in sugarcoating anything. I believe in saying what I have to say, and we're going to get this kicked off. First and foremost, Kryptonite said that, everybody doesn't have a right to use abusive language about Montana De Leon because black men have become comfortable disrespecting black women. Now, in my opinion, nothing could be further from the truth. Black men have been more than respectful to black women for years and years and years. As a matter of fact, ever since the early 60s, when the white feminist movement first started here in America, black women went on television talking all kinds of smack about black men, calling them down low, calling them, jail-bound, they ain't shit, all this other stuff that they came out with, and they were doing it for years and years and years. Right up until the time when YouTube came around and men started going on YouTube and these websites and basically airing out these women's dirty laundry. And once that happened, then it came the whole shebang about, men just want to talk bad about us. Oh, they want to diss us, and we were there for them all these years. And no, you weren't. You weren't. You cannot take credit for what your ancestors did, because your ancestors did that, but you didn't. Alright? Just like I wouldn't even be making this video right now if it wasn't for Blake Barbie Doll. Blake Barbie Doll, in a way, you basically created me, because I didn't have anything to say about this entire situation until you made it to the point where I had something to say about it. For one, by lying and blocking me and telling me that I was just trying to bash you, which I wasn't. I was responding to you on one of the vids that you did in the comments section, and you blocked me. So if you don't want me to talk there, I'll talk here. Either way it goes, I'm gonna say what the hell I gotta say. So let's get on with this. Kryptonite also goes on to say that it's wrong to malign people who have kids out of wedlock. Really? Okay, well, back in the 60s, when women used to get pregnant, usually that wasn't something that was celebrated. As a matter of fact, it was frowned upon in the black community. If a woman had a kid out of wedlock, 9 times out of 10 you could expect a shotgun wedding coming from somewhere. So no, you can't exactly say that. And the other thing that goes on with that is having all these kids out of wedlock. Montana De Leon is a very attractive woman, and I got nothing against her personally. I really don't. I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she's eloquent, and she says, the way she speaks is she's a nice looking female. But that's where it ends, because it doesn't matter how pretty she is, it doesn't matter how well spoken she is, she still has 5 fucking kids. It doesn't matter how good a woman looks. If she has 5 kids, no man is going to look at her like, wow, I could see bringing her home to my mother. No, that's not going to happen. She said in her video that it takes a special man, a special type of man to take care of another man's kids. Yeah, it takes a special kind of man to do that. One that's in the special fucking Olympics. I'm sorry. If they're your kids, they are your responsibility. If I bring a woman out on a date, I'm paying for it. I don't have a problem with that. I am more than happy to pay for a woman that I'm taking out somewhere. But the thing is I am not paying for your kids. The reason I'm not paying for your kids is because they are your responsibility. If you want someone to babysit your kids, then you need to pay someone in order to go out with me. That's fair. I wouldn't mind paying, to have a babysitter come in and babysit your kids every so often. Yeah, that's fine. But every single time we go out, oh, hell no. Hell no. If you want to see me, then you know what? Then you have to meet me halfway some of the time too. If you're not willing to do that, then I'm not willing to meet you halfway. And that's just the way that needs to work. The other thing is Kryptonite says that she was a fat girl. She was a big girl, and she was attractive, and she was accomplished. Well, I can honestly say that big girls aren't attractive. I don't care who you are. If you're 4'6" and you weigh over 200 pounds, you're not big boned, you're not heavy set, and you're not thick, your ass is fucking fat. You know, there's no two bones about that. If you're fat, you're fat. Just admit you're fat and be done with it. I mean, I can understand that some people can't lose weight as a result of their having medical conditions that keeps them from losing as much weight. But you know what? It still doesn't stop you from eating as much. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. You can do portion control. You can also exercise moderately, and you can lose weight that way. 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and that's all you need to do. Just to get your heart rate up and enough to at least keep your weight where it needs to be. And a lot of black women don't even bother to do that. You know, they have this fear of getting sweaty. Well, your body doesn't stink when you get sweaty. The reason why you stink is because of the bacteria that's in your skin, and the sweat itself doesn't actually stink. It's the waste products from the bacteria that are in your skin that you smell. You know, the dead skin cells, the bacteria eat the dead skin cells, and their waste is what you smell, and that's why you stink. But anyways, I'm getting off track here. She also said that she's a big girl and she's attractive. Well, I don't necessarily buy that. And she says she's accomplished. Kryptonite accomplished what? You accomplished laying on your back, getting spread eagle, and letting somebody skeet off all over your ass, and you know, you popping out a little mistake 9 months later. You know, if you're so responsible, if you're so intelligent, as you like to put it, then why didn't you make the motherfucker that went off and fucked you wear a condom? Why didn't you take a morning after pill? Why didn't you take a birth control pill? Why didn't you have an abortion if you didn't want a kid? Obviously, you wanted that to happen. So you can't come off and, you know, go off on all these men just because they disagree with your ass. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You know, if I disagree with you, it's my right to tell you I don't agree with you. And as a matter of fact, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with the bullshit you say, and I don't agree with the bullshit that Blake Barbie doll says, because she's on bullshit too. The other thing is you're saying if people don't accept you, fuck them. I think that's your problem already. You shouldn't have been fucking. You wouldn't have a kid out of wedlock if you weren't fucking. I mean, the average guy that goes out and looks at a woman and says, you know what? Damn, she might be pretty and yada, yada, yada. This like that. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're a fucking 10. You'll go down to a 5 or a 6 as soon as your kid fucking comes out. You know, the average man nowadays doesn't want a ready-made family. If I'm going to have kids, I don't even have any kids. But if I had any kids, I sure as hell wouldn't want to take care of my kids and some other man's kids, and I sure as hell wouldn't want his ass lurking around like the big bad wolf, hollering about he gonna come in here and do this and do that, and I can't be telling this kid this or that. No, if he lives in my fucking house and I'm putting food in his mouth and I'm putting clothes on his back and I'm making sure that there's lights and there's water and there's cable and there's internet and there's all that other stuff, and I'm racking my brains out trying to figure out how to pay that and make all that happen, you know what? His little fucking ass is gonna do what I tell him, or he can come live with you. I'm not really gonna have enough time to say everything I gotta say here, so I'm gonna make a second video. There's gonna be a part 2 to this. I already see that. The other thing I had to say is she says if a guy wants to take her out, then, you know, some guys see it as pussy as a motivation. Pussy is always the motivation for men. Men are always motivated by pussy. It doesn't matter if you're fucking 65 years old. All men want pussy. If they can't get pussy, a lot of them feel there's no reason to go on. You know? So you can just take it with a grain of salt that pussy is the great motivator where men are concerned. The other thing that she needs to look at too is she says that, you know, Well, actually, I'm not going to have time. Just stand by for part 2 because it's coming. Later.